go ahead and get this thing started. We're going to talk about some motivation. We're going to talk about some meditation. We're going to talk about some inspiration. If it's not one of the three, I don't want it. Let's get down with it. Let's go ahead and get into that mentality. Let's get into that ability. Set it 60 minutes. Let's go. So what kind of challenge are you facing off against? Like every single day I ask myself this question, how can you do that? How can you start to work on your challenges, Marcel? How can you start to get down to the ability inside of yourself where you're utilizing what you have inside and utilizing your mentality? And every day we get to that place where we start asking those types of questions where I wake up on a daily basis asking this question. I start getting down with the things that are really going on inside, and and what are the things that you're facing off against today? What are some of the things that might be stopping you from your growth, from your ability inside of who you are, and your ability inside of your mentality? And you know I look at this journey, and I see that it's worth it. No matter how hard it gets, every single day I get up and I continue, and I just put that mentality to the ability to be who I am. And I want to see that for yourselves. See that when you're going through challenges, that if you can focus, if you can put yourself in a place where you start utilizing what you have inside, it's able to be overcome. And I sometimes look and see, and sometimes it feels like it's not possible. But then when you sit down and you're calm and you're in a place where you start to become collective, you start to realize what really matters. The values, the things that really make you who you are. And it takes a lot of focus to get to the place inside where you don't allow your emotions to control you. It takes a lot of time to focus to the point where we utilize the person that we are inside. And you know sometimes when we're going through those kind of challenges, it's not easy. And when we acknowledge that, like when we acknowledge what we're going through, you know what I'm saying? And a lot of a lot of the things that we go through are meant to happen. They're meant to test you to see if you're focused, if you're going to be able to stay positive even in a challenging situation, even when you don't know if it's possible. And you see, when you continue to focus, and it's kind of interesting because, a friend was like, hey, yesterday, why don't you save your mustache? I didn't know what was going to happen. I was just like, yeah, why don't I go ahead and do that? And it it's really what shows up is that the people that are meant to be in your life, they'll continue to be in your life even when you're facing off against challenges. It's amazing to see that growth comes when we're focusing, okay? And sometimes we wish to go do one thing, but what we're really looking to do is something else, okay? And and it's amazing to have those kinds of challenges. It's amazing that you face off against things inside of yourselves. Like it's amazing that we even have that capability to have those things to even face off against on a daily. And so they're worth embracing is what I'm trying to get at. I'm trying to get at the mentality within to not allow how other people react to affect you is a form of focus, okay? And a lot of people, they react to how other people treat them. And And instead of believing themselves and believing their ability, when we start to truly believe in ourselves, we listen to our being, we listen to our vibration, and it's inside of that that we start to find who we are. You know what I'm saying? And what is it that you focus into? Are you allowing how other people act to affect you today? Are you allowing what other people say to hold you back from the beautiful things that you have going on in your life? You, they don't have that ability unless you disable your mind to that place, and how do you enable your mind? How do we start to enable our abilities? How do we start to enable our mentalities? How do we start to, sit down inside of who we are and truly believe in ourselves? And, you know, that's why I ask myself that question every day, like I do today. Is what I'm doing today, is it motivation? Is it meditation? Is it inspiration? What is it that drives you? I get in front of my cameras every single day. I grind no matter how many people. My Facebook group is now at 1,500 people, and is continuing to climb. Motivation, meditation, inspiration is changing people's mentalities to being themselves. Which means that the things around them are starting to happen, and I'm seeing that happening. In every part of my vibration. It tests me to see what I'm made of as well too. And so, are we creating that kind of a community? Are you subscribing? Are you listening to these daily broadcasts? Are you seeing that? And every single day I get up and I look at my computer and I see the amount of people that actually are in support of this, and the ability, and it drives me to want to help out other people. It drives me to sit in front of it and to man the mentality that it takes to do this on a daily basis. And it's not always easy. Some days we're gonna feel like we want to give up, and it's when we sit down and really recognize what we truly have and the beautiful things that we have and the things that we don't push away. And when we start facing off against those kinds of pains and fears and emotions, it's going to take focus. It's going to take a true mentality. It's going to take a place of believing in yourself. And, what about when you're just starting and those kinds of challenges come? I remember when I was younger and I was in my early 20s, and I I was moving in with my sister, and in the first weeks of moving in, my oil pan broke on my car, and I had to put my car in the shop to get it fixed, because that was the test to see if I could stay positive. I was very young then. I didn't understand that. I didn't understand that all the things that we go through happen for a positive cause, that when you embrace your challenges, that you have the ability to overcome them, that your mentality is worth it. And so as I started to get, grow inside from my early 20s to my 30s, and I started to realize that we are always young. We are always growing, and that we should give ourselves the benefit of the doubt, that you got to be soft on yourselves. You got to focus to that place inside of who you are, where you start to say, I can be gentle to me. I don't need to be destructive to myself. I need to be seeing the beautiful things that I have, that give us the ability to find that place where we can become a motivation for other people, where we can reflect light into other people, and it was when I was meditating, and I thank you there. One of my periscopes just said, what about people who know all of those disciplines, yet the ones they love are destructive? See, I understand that, it, it's like this. You know, I have a really close person in my heart that, was not watered by sun. Okay, they were put into darkness. And what happens to a plant that's in darkness? Does anyone know what happens to a plant when it doesn't have sunlight? It dies. Okay? And so with the proper sunlight, with the proper ability inside of ourselves, with the proper people that are bringing us towards the light and bringing our mentalities out of that, we have the ability to grow. And so we have to let those type of people that are not going to bring us closer to that part of ourselves, to let them have their place, you know, and acknowledge and have the knowledge that we're going in a different direction. Okay, that we're going towards things that bring us towards light, that are bringing us towards liberation within ourselves, and and so this second question that came up. You're welcome to call in, um, but what about a person who believes we are all one, and if they fall, then I fall? It's a hard place to be. So it's only a hard place to be if your mentality is not disciplined. Okay, let me say this again. It's only a hard place to be if your mentality is not disciplined. Okay? And so, how do we enable our mentality? Like we get into that part of ourselves where we start to focus on our own path. Yeah? So a lot of people forget that we're a student of this life. You see, everything that we go through, every test that we go through, every time we have an emotion, we learned that emotion. Okay? And so, in the process of learning requires focus and knowledge. Now, to master the first piece is like your incoming breath. You have two breaths. You have three parts of the process of the breath. You have the incoming breath, the center breath, and you have the outgoing breath. Now, how that breaks down is Einstein actually broke that down. He came up with a theory. It's called the theory of relativity. And it says that mass and energy are interchangeable. So you are both mass and energy. Okay, but you're also the greatest book of life to be. Every page you're writing it as you're living your life. And so what you see can be different than what somebody else sees, okay? And so when we look from our own opinion, that's when the ego opens up. When we start to understand, that's when the ability to see from other people's opinions is there. So we have to recognize an aspect outside of them and us, a place that's yet universal. And so when we look from a universal angle, we find that Newton was correct, that for each action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. So this means that every single thing that you do came from the first time that you did that thing. That first time that you did that thing is a form of focus, of the process of focus to getting that knowledge. So when you see somebody else who's extremely focused, an example of what I'm talking about is when you see somebody who's extremely focused, okay, this could be in a position, this can be in a companionship, this can be in any form of relation with you. You're utilizing that process there, okay? And so when you're utilizing that process, you have the choice to either choose that this thing is positive or negative. Okay? So when we start to choose positive in that, it no longer is a hard place to be. And so when I started to understand, to see from other people's angles, was to go beyond our own opinion. Okay? When I started to understand that when we go beyond our own opinion, that we free ourselves to be positive, then I realized that the only things that truly exist is light and dark. Okay? And the structure that we happen to live in today is this exact thing. Okay? It's a structure that has been built by biblical. And so what I'm talking about is on biblical proportions. And what does this mean then? It's on a bigger level than a singular angle. So you see through your angle. And so when you see from positive and negative, we find biblically that the light was divided from darkness, and then it was saw, which means that he saw and then he made a choice. Okay? So this means that positive and negative exist at a higher vibration. Okay? So if we can yet but focus on the positive, we have ourselves a real ability to enjoy this journey. All right? We have the ability to not allow emotions to hold us back, which are choices. You hearing what I'm saying? You're in control of your mentality. You're in control of your ability to allow other people to upset you, to allow your external environment to affect your mentality. And you also have the ability to utilize what you have inside. And so when we choose to be positive, when we are choosing a positive route, it does not mean that we still do not face off against negativity and that we ignore it. It means that we're seeking out positivity in everything that we're going through in our day, our week, our months, and our years. You see, your time is valuable on the face of the planet. I got to firsthand see that as a friend of mine passed away. I got to see as they started to accept everything that they went through. They got it to a place where they recognized that every challenge, they were ready, they were preparing themselves for the next stage of their journey and their transcendence. And so, are we doing that? Are we facing off against these cycles that we go through to learn the lessons? And are we focusing to the place to become positive, where the emotion no longer has the ability, and that even moves out of the way on its own? And this is what people call walls. Until that wall moves out of your way, you will keep hitting that karmic wall over and over again until you focus to the point where you break through it and you face off against it. It's likened to the other night we had a cow, and these cows are feral cows. The farmers, some of them, they raise them out in fields, and so the only time they're together is when they're bringing them. So a couple nights ago, we had a cow who decided to want to be a jumper. So it's jumping around, getting around, and well, it had never been put in a situation and wanted to get back to its calf. So it charged my brother, literally. So I'm watching this cow just, my brother is like, oh yeah. So, and I had to face off against the cow. Okay, got an 800-pound cow. I'm not a cowboy, but apparently now I am. You know what I'm saying? So, I had to face off against a cow quite a few times to save my father and my brother. And so when you're facing off against this thing, you got to recognize that It's got more weight than you, okay? So your challenges sometimes have more weight than you do. All right? So you got this cow coming at you, and you're staring down the barrel and you're looking at this cow, and it's getting ready to charge you. Okay? And it's likened to our challenges. When do we put our hand? And so I take my hand and I put it on the top of the head as it comes, and I move to the side and I grab it around. Okay? And it freaks out and starts trying to buck. Well, I realize at this point I got an 800-pound cow. So it gets loose, and I'm going through this process over and over again, And so what is the lesson that I could learn? I was trying to figure if I could learn from this lesson, if I could learn if we're staring down this cow, if I could learn that, and possibly I could share it with you, if I could figure out what it meant that, sometimes we got to move out of the way. Sometimes we got to let that thing come through so we can actually get that hold. So we could get to that place where we can utilize that. And I was like, if I could figure this out, and it was as of me thinking about it, and I'm sitting here thinking, okay, all right, so I got these people, they're important to me, like I got it. Sometimes it's not worth fighting. Sometimes it's worth overcoming it. You hearing what I'm saying? Sometimes the fight's not worth it. Okay? Sometimes, the best way to fight that, that 800-pound cow that you feel like you're facing off against is to just move aside and grab it at the right time. Okay? It's not always to face off against it and then get plowed over, because that's the way that life does sometimes. It will kick you to your knees. Sylvester Stallone's quote from Rocky Balboa, it will kick you to your knees and it will keep you there permanently if you let it. So are you going to let this cow hold you back? And then I was thinking, and I was like, okay, how can I do this? I took my hand, I put my hand on the top of the cow as it came at me, and every time it kept coming at me, I kept doing that. And all of a sudden the cow realized, I can't do this. I'm charging through. I can't. I'm going to have to give up. It's not worth it to fight it. It's not worth it to do this. And that is the victory, my friends, is when you're focused to that point where you won't allow the things, you don't want to allow the hardships to affect you anymore. So likened to that cow staring down that barrel, are you doing that with your life? Are you finding a way to have a mentality that is enabled, that is a place of focus, that even when you're facing off against those kind of challenges, you could believe in yourself? And so you see, when you do that, when you share that kind of a story, when you get to that place, it reflects outwards. And I was trying to figure out how I could get this to a place of motivation. And then I realized that we all face off against that cow. But how do we face off against it? Do we sit in front of it and let it hit us? Or do we move along the side and allow it to pass through? And so I'm sitting there, I'm talking with a friend last night, and she's having a hard time, and she's just like, how can I let this happen? And you move aside. Sometimes you got to re-enter a room. Sometimes it's not the right time for that action. Sometimes it's not the right time for that place. Sometimes it's a time for you to have peace inside. And so how do we start to do it? How do we start to put ourselves in a place where we're allowing those kind of 800-pound cows to move aside? How are we starting to put ourselves in a place where we're not being plowed over in life? Yeah, so that's the lesson that I got from it. Sometimes you got to look at from the angle that you're looking at, and then step aside from that angle and see from a different angle. You got to see from an angle that possibly other people might see you from. Yeah. So how are some of the ways that we can study that? You know what I mean? Like, can we pick up like pen and paper and sit down and write it down? Can we put ourselves in a place where we can write things down, or journal, or be that type of a person, who everybody sees that one person and who's always organized. They have to clean their messes too. You know what I'm saying? And they have to organize their, and make their beds. And if you look here, There's two made beds. Okay, you hearing what I'm saying? Are you making your bed? Are you organizing your mentality? Are you organizing your ability to focus and to put yourself in a place where the process is you, where you have that place inside of yourself? I'm focusing to that place today. And it's amazing. You know what I mean? It's truly amazing that I have this opportunity to be in front of you, that you could subscribe to this network, motivation, meditation, inspiration, that you might be able to take from this and put it into your day, that you can become a positive person, that the people around you can see even when you're facing off against challenges, that you can be that person who they come to when they're seeking you out. And I remember working for Chrysler, and here I am, just a sales guy, a guy with a what was called a learning disability. Okay, it's interesting that David Goggins, one of the people on the face of the planet considered to have a determination, was with a learning disability. Okay, so I might not be able to write the best, I might not be able to do math the best. So you know what I know how to do? Be me. You hearing what I'm saying? I don't let none of that be called a disability, because that's a mentality, my friends. You hearing what I'm saying? And so what I realized when I was, they were taking my sales. I was working for Chrysler, and I'd have to sell 2 times the amount of cars just to be able to do what a normal person could do. And what is normal? Because as soon as I started kicking their butts, as soon as I sat down and applied myself, as soon as I was in a place where I was first and second place every single month, and guess what? It took me 2 months to learn how to do a credit application. 2 months. What's your excuse? Okay, what's stopping you from that? If I could do that, what is it that you could do? Okay, if I could sit down and figure out a credit application and sit in front of a computer and use Google to even be able to spell, okay, and yet I was first and second place every single month, all right, they were like, you might not have all the skills that other people, you might have the abilities that other people have, but in some due time, you're going to be a manager here. That's not what I wanted, my friends. I wanted this that you see right in front of yourself. I wanted the networks. I wanted the people who wanted to become who they are on the inside, the person that told you is worth speaking your mind. And it's interesting because people started reaching out to me. They started saying yes. They started saying exactly what is right there, that it is a great will. And I realized it's not about what you don't have. It's about you utilizing what you do have. It's utilizing your ability inside of yourself, your ability inside of your mentality. And guess what happened? When I was facing off against challenges, I sat down inside of a sauna and I started meditating. And I sat down inside of myself and I was shaking. Okay? I had been in a 8-year relationship. I was married for 8 years. I did 3.5 years of telesales, 2.5 years of car sales, and I drove 5 years of Uber. And I'm sitting there, and I'm shaking, and I'm sleeping in my car, and I'm asking myself, what can I do? And I got inside of that sauna, and I meditated in that sauna. And as I started to meditate, people started walking out of the sauna before me. And over time, I got to the point where I could pass 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. And people started coming to me to ask me how to meditate. They asked me how to use the mentality that I'm talking to you guys about today. Okay, the person that I am, the things that I do, the motivation, the meditation, the inspiration. It's real. Okay? This is the question I ask myself every single day. Is what I'm doing today, is it motivation? Is it meditation? Is it inspiration? And I can confidently say, I am a bad mother. I can go in a sauna and you'll walk out of that sauna before me. Because guess what? At a certain point, when you focus to the point where you either are going to make it or you're going to die. You hearing what I'm saying? That's how badly I wanted what I'm doing today. Okay, I wake up and I do videos. I'm getting ready to go near my second year. Okay, when I get to 5 years, when that yield comes back, when people start seeking me out, okay, when they start to see the things that I'm talking about working in their lives, it's just like when I was at the dealership. You know, people started coming to me, but this guy makes $40,000, $50,000, but his $100,000 manager's coming to him to ask him for help. $300,000, it didn't matter. And then I realized it's in here. You hearing what I'm saying? You're all blessings. So let me go ahead and start talking about this thing. You know, the people that I teach, they call me Daddy Meditation for a reason. Because when I get down with meditation, when I sit down and I do breath work, okay, I'm not like other people. I get ripped, all right? I sit down and I exercise on what's going on inside, okay? And so I see a lot of people, and I've seen a lot of people that are not growing inside. I've seen a lot of people that stop themselves from that ability to use that energy, to use that ability to be who they are, to be that person inside of who they are. So if you go look back through my meditation, if you go look through the things that I do, it's real. And so I even read energy for people. Okay, so and Periscope just asked, can I do an energy reading? For sure, you're welcome to call in. I enjoy the conversations. You got to realize, okay, check this out. All right, hear this for a second. The person who bought Kundalini to the U.S., okay, his name was Yogi Bhajan, all right? My mother was in his son's ashram, which means my mom was taught by Yogi Bhajan.
Grand Rising.
Blessings here. How you doing?
I'm good. I would just like an energy reading, if you don't mind.
For sure. Oh wow. So a lot of so even though there's a frustration, a lot of your heart is what you use the most.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the biggest places of challenges in the worry itself. And that is the reason why the depth perception is affected. You understanding what I'm saying?
Uh-huh.
And so when you start to open up the understanding inside of that heart, because the heart splits into two pieces. You got the lower heart and you got the upper heart. The lower heart has to deal with relation. And the upper heart, the lower heart has to deal with understanding, and the upper heart has to deal with relation. Because so what has happened is the understanding part of the heart is where it affects you the most. That is why it frustrates you.
Okay.
You understanding what I'm saying? So how do we open that up is sit down a little bit with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And work with the part inside to have observation. And I know that's a difficult thing to say because with yellow energy, when you have a green dominance, but you also have a high level of red energy, what happens is you love to stand your ground. You're a fighter, for sure.
Yeah.
But you're a fighter of the heart. And I'm sure you've told other people that. And that's a beautiful thing in itself.
Mm-hmm.
So the place which you're most affected is in your thought process. Yeah?
Okay.
And that's why the depth perception feels the blow. Like, what's going on? So
yeah.
those are that's so an energy reading is more than just an aura reading, because I could off the get-go tell you got green energy.
Okay.
But your secondary place is in your red energy field, which puts that place of yellow at the place where you are most affected. And that's why you feel like you got to use the red. But the thing is you really got a green heart. Do you get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So how do you start strengthening the heart? You got to start getting down with your yellow energy, which has to deal with the worry part and that part of yourself, so that you can open that up. And so that when you start to open that up, the rest of that energy will have the ability to flow, because you have no problem voicing yourself. You voice your heart quite well to the people around you. So we got to get that energy flowing so it no longer stays trapped in that red energy, and people start to understand you for the beautiful heart that you have inside.
Okay.
And through writing down and journaling, you'll find observation. And then when you're facing off against situations, you'll no longer be upset at the situation. And that will open up the higher chambers of energy, which is like depth perception.
Okay.
So when that does, the nervous system will open up at a greater, and then your system will start to feel peace.
Oh, great. Because that's where I need to be. I need to be at peace.
I understand. Trust me, I've been doing meditation for nearly a decade. I started at 27 and I'm 35. And so I've been doing this for so long that I literally have one of my first students, she passed away. She had stage 4 metastasized cancer. I helped her. She got to a place of peace where she had a place of understanding, where she came to peace with all of the things that she's going through. There's people that have joined my journey that are growing, just being a part of this whole thing, and you can too. If you want to go through and hear a lot of my stuff, is my link is there. It take you to the YouTube page where I have kept things even when I was going through hard times, which I was sleeping in my van for 2 months. I was doing meditation in the sauna. I was delivering food, had 2 dogs, and my wife left me after 8 years. I have no anger in my heart for my wife.
Okay. And yeah, you don't need to hold on to anger.
I understand, and it's because I found myself after loving somebody more than I loved myself. And so when you find yourself, you find that best friend inside, and that's why I said the place of observation will let that red energy flow. And it's not necessary because it feels trapped inside, I'm sure. And so when you let that energy flow, it will pass through that process in your thought process, and you will feel about 10 pounds of energy lighter.
Okay. Yeah. Because, I mean, I'm a widow now, so I understand a loss. Yeah.
But I also know that the way to get back to the place of peace inside is once we become best friends with ourselves. Imagine it like a book. You start reading a book. On the first page, you don't see the picture, right? You start into the book, and all of a sudden, you and this best friend inside of yourself start reading, and you start to become enjoy with the book that you're reading, right? And now all of a sudden, you become best friends with yourself, and you start talking to yourself. You ever seen somebody, they're reading a book, and all of a sudden they say, "Oh, that's a cool part." So that kind of communication is what we seek out inside of ourselves. That is called enlightenment. When your inner light starts to speak to you and the knowledge inside starts coming out, that's what inner enlightenment is. And so that when you start to gain the ability inside for that thoughts to no longer hold you back, you will overcome this. And that's what I created it for all those people that were going through the challenges that I did. When I first started, I did 5-minute videos, and now I'm up at an hour a day doing this for those people that are in that place, because I vowed to myself that what kept me alive, this right here, when I was sleeping in my van, after 8 years of marriage, I asked myself 3 questions. Is what I'm doing today, is it motivation? Is it meditation? Is it inspiration? In every single video that I do, I say, in the morning, I ask that question. I say, is what I'm doing today, is it motivation? Is it meditation? Is it inspiration? Because if it's not one of the 3, I'm focused to the point where it moves out of the way on its own.
Okay. I got it. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
I appreciate it.
You have a blessed one, okay?
Yes. Bye-bye.
Yeah. Oh, how wonderful. Oh, that was really great to do an energy reading for you. Okay, so back to energy. So when we understand energy, okay, we start to understand that we can go past that. And that's one of the things that I realized after doing 47 days of meditation in lotus pose every single day, was that when we use the gifts that we have inside of ourselves, that the external is just a reflection of how we feel on the inside. And so my knees swelled to the size of oranges, and as I was sitting inside of the sauna, I realized that it wasn't what was going on the outside that was being affected, it was what was going on the inside. And so how can we start to use our energy in that kind of a way? How can we start to use our vibration? How can we start to use our mentality and our abilities? And it's exactly like that. Like, to do energy readings or to use our mentalities in such a way that we can uplift other people to be themselves. We can uplift other people to use their abilities aside of who they are. We can bring them closer to themselves and to study themselves. And one day Bruce Lee was asked this question. Somebody came to sit down with Bruce Lee, and he was asked a question. And that question was, if I come to learn from you, what am I learning? And he said, I can teach you nothing. Ultimately, martial arts is learning to express oneself in a combatic form. So are we expressing ourselves? Are we learning from ourselves? Are we becoming the masters within who we are? Are we becoming the person? Are we using the energy? Are we using our red energy, our green energy, our purple energy, our blue energy? Are we using our understanding? Are we using our depth perception? Are we using the knowledge within our nervous system? You know, and if you go to the British Museum, you will see white silhouettes. If you go to India, you will see silhouettes. If you go anywhere in the world, you will see different color silhouettes. And are we acknowledging this? Are we acknowledging this kind of knowledge that we have inside of ourselves that vibrates around us and that, makes us who we are? And so how do we start to utilize that part of ourselves? How do we start to use our being, our vibrations in that type of a way? And so I recognize that when focus and knowledge, when the student and the teacher inside connect, when the inwards breath and the outwards breath and the centering within oneself becomes you, when it becomes the person that you are inside, when you become within you, when you become present inside of yourself, when you become present within your being, when you become present within who you are, when you become truly centered, you are disciplined. When you use your focus and your knowledge, and you know that you're greater than the challenges that you're facing off against, when you believe in yourself to that point, when you believe in yourself to that ability, that you can do amazing things, my friends. And that was the question that I asked myself. What is a reflection of discipline? And I found it. It was inspiration. So how could I teach you to become inspired? How could I use the story that I have that it might inspire you? And I started to see those people that wanted to be around me. They want to be around me because they see me for who I am. Okay, I want people to see you for who you are. I want them to care about you for who you are. I want them to see that and to uplift you and to bring you towards positivity, towards a mentality, to a lighter weight of being, just like I did for that energy reading there. And so, are we doing that, guys? Are we able to connect and network together at that kind of centered, of that kind of mastery? And you see, it's inside of that place that I recognize that is why they call me Daddy Meditation, because I'm willing to sit down and grind. I'm willing to sit down and do things that other people won't. Are you able to do that in your profession? Are you able to dominate your mentality? Are you able to dominate your ability? Are you able to use your focus and knowledge to become a leader within your being, within your presence, within your mentality? And so, are we doing that today? Are we truly sitting down and giving ourselves that kind of time? Are we giving ourselves that kind of place to believe in who we are? You hearing what I'm saying? Your journey is worth it. It's not worth letting things that are not going to bring you closer to you into your energy. And so use that kind of knowledge. Use that kind of person who you are on the inside, that the beauty might radiate outwards, that we might call you beautiful, that we might call you unique, we might call you a son, a daughter of the Most High, that you have what it takes to be who you are. And so when we vibrate there, when we see these people, it's interesting, they use this word business owner. What is your business? What is it that you do inside of you and not somebody else's? Okay, what makes you you? What is it that when you do these things, that's your business? You hearing what I'm saying? So how do we focus to that point where the knowledge becomes discipline? We got to center ourselves. We got to no longer let the emotions hold us back. We got to find a way to free ourselves from those emotions, to believe in who we are on the inside, and to believe in our beings, and to believe in our vibrations. And maybe if I can just maybe inspire you to be you, if I can inspire you to be the beautiful person that you are inside, the person that's not selfish but selfless, who truly believes in themselves, who believes in their mentality, who believes in their ability, that they're worth it. And so I sit here in front of you today and I tell you it's worth it. I tell you you're worth it. I tell you you're a blessing on the face of the planet, that you came with knowledge, you came with focus, you came with discipline, that you are the classroom. Okay? And so when we're sitting down here, or I have 15, 16, or even 10,000 at a certain point, I'm already at 1,500 people on Facebook, okay? I have more than 10 hours of people watching my YouTube channel. It's going to increase, the ability, this network, these people, they're going to come, and we're a community. Let's connect. Let's get it going. Let's leave comments. Let's leave, how we really feel inside, and how we have the ability inside of who we are, and how we're becoming uplifted from uplifting each other, from seeing the light, from seeing the energy, from seeing the flow inside of ourselves, inside of our beings, inside of our paths, our purpose, our journeys. And I'm doing that for you today. I'm telling you you're worth it. I'm telling you you can be you. I'm telling you that you are beautiful inside of who you are, and that your mentality, your ability, your focus, your knowledge, your process of being you is worth it, that you can achieve the highest places within yourself. But you got to look at you, and you got to sit down and become disciplined, and you can't let other people affect your emotions. You got to be strong to yourself, to who you are on the inside. And I can tell you there's a lot of beautiful people out there. There's a lot of people that when they hear this message, it will hit them deep in the heart. It will hit them deep in a place of liberation. And that's what this thing is about. It's about freeing ourselves. It's about caring about ourselves. It's about caring about our mentalities and our beings and our focus and our purposes. And so I sit down in front of you today and I say, are you a friend with yourself, like as if you were to pick up a book and enjoy it? Are you enjoying you that same way? Are you enjoying your being inside? Are you enjoying this journey that you're on? As I close, I just want to say blessings to you all. I want you to be inspired to be yourselves, to be who you are on the inside, that you are beautiful, that you are sons and daughters of the Most High, and that your light can shine. And as I close, I just want to say blessings, blessings, blessings. As always, namaste.